Welcome to another episode of the Roughly Related to Reselling podcast. This is episode 5, I think. Yeah, I'm going to say 5. I'm pretty sure it's 5. Anyway, so it's a Friday morning. I hit a couple sales this morning. I found a couple of Lisa Frank vintage stationery packs, and those are something I've never found before, so that was pretty cool. I found 2 of them. What can we do it again where we are? I'm sorry. I know last podcast I was super tired, but it's only gotten worse. Literally every fucking night, one kid wakes up, and then the other one wakes up, and then they like tag team the entire night, the 3-year-old and the 10-month-old. And it's, me and my wife slept downstairs last night. That's how bad it's gotten. We slept in the basement. And it did help. I mean, our small one put herself back to sleep, so we had to let her cry it out because it's just we've tried everything. And she only cried for like 20 minutes, 20, 30 minutes, 30, 40 minutes. 40 minutes to 2 hours. No, I'm just kidding. It was like 20, 30 minutes. And then she went to sleep and didn't wake up again. And then my oldest woke up, and of course she had like shit and piss. And she didn't say that, though. She just woke up crying. And she's been waking up crying like randomly. And sometimes, occasionally, she has poop, but most of the time she just wants to read a fucking book to her dog, her stuffed dog, in the middle of the night. So I have to just basically like tuck her back in and put her back to sleep. But I was trying to avoid doing that because it's getting to the point where it's like it escalates. When you have a kid, they fucking escalate everything. It's not like, it doesn't just start with like, oh, we're going to do a book, and then it's a book in bed, and then it's like the dog needs a book, and then the dog needs 3 books, and then like in the middle, and then she wakes up, freaking out because she wants to read a book to her dog. And yeah, it's so I started to slowly start taking, like she loves to read, so we encourage her to read, but it's just the books at night, like, because she'll like pretend to read. She can't read, obviously, she's like not old enough to read, but she'll look at the pictures and she'll like, talk to her dog and shit, and then she'll fall asleep, which is fine. But then like, yeah, the flip side is she's waking up and she's fucking freaking out because she's like, I want to read a book to dog. Like, that's what she was waking up for. So anyway, last night, yeah, it was again another shit show as far as the sleep thing goes. And so yeah, so my wife's at Costco, my daughter's at school, so my wife took the little one to Costco because she's big enough to ride in the carriage now, so it's a little bit easier to take her when you're shopping for big shit. We have friends coming in from out of town this week or next week, and there's a big like town-wide yard sale. So one of my friends is excited because she likes to do yard sales. So we'll probably take 2 cars. Me and her will go early, and then my wife will go with her husband, like with the kids later on, and they'll probably meet us up with us because they both want to sleep in. So that will be super fun. I'm excited for that. Yeah, my wife left for Costco, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be doing the podcast. And she like calls me like fucking, I don't know, 15 minutes later. I didn't end up starting for like another half hour because I just had issues, and then, just it takes forever. So got it all set up. Sorry, fucking A. Got it all set up and started podcasting, was about to start, and then she called me. So that was like the first interruption. And then I texted her. I was like, yeah, I'm starting a podcast, blah, blah, blah. Well, she had texted me like a question or something, because anytime she goes to Costco, it's like I get a million calls or text messages. So I had to tell her, like, don't call me because I'm doing the podcast. And so she's just been texting me, asking me all this shit about fucking Costco. And I texted, I was like, okay, I'm starting now. And she still is just like, didn't completely, just ignored it. So she's just texting me. So she'll probably come home with a bunch of shit that we don't need because I didn't tell her not to get it. So that's fun. But anyway, yeah, yard sale season. There was a few more yard sales this past weekend. This past weekend was pretty decent. I actually picked up some Fenton glass. I've never picked that stuff up before, but I've been trying to sell stuff more locally, on top of the eBay stuff, just because I like getting cash in hand, and then like the other stuff I can just leave in my bank account, and I'm not pulling cash out all the time. So I've been trying to do more, stuff that I would have avoided before. I've just been trying to pick up. But there was like these two Fenton. Let me see if I can remember the name. It took me forever to figure out what it was. I went to like groups and asked around. It was like Fenton, satin pink poppy student lamp or something like that. And yeah, they're like these old. I think they're ugly as shit, but old people love them. That's just me. I mean, I brought it in. My mom was like, "That's ugly as shit." So maybe it's not just all old people. And then my wife saw them and she said the same thing. She's like, "Oh, those are ugly as shit." So it wasn't just me. But when you turn them on, they do kind of look cool. You know what I mean? It's like, and obviously it's from a different era, and they're very old, but they're in great shape. And I paid like $20 each for them. I actually paid he wanted 50 for the pair, and I got like a bunch of sealed VHS. I was like, "Would you do 50 for all this?" And he said, "Yeah." So essentially I got it for like $40. So the VHS should pay for everything. And then, this I should sell, hopefully, those Fenton in the next week. If I have to ship them, I'll ship them. You know what I mean? I'm not scared to ship shit. It just takes so long to ship something like that. I have a bunch of pool noodles that my neighbor gave me. So I'll use those pool noodles and like just take my time with it. But, if I sold it online, like to ship, I wouldn't probably do it for less than $1,000. But that's a little bit more. But I've heard like from what like the people in the group said, they've sold for around like $350. I have them listed for like $800 right now for the pair, so like $400 a piece. So like they've sold for like $350, but like people have told me that color is sought after, and the fact that I have the pair supposedly makes them more rare. But I don't know. I've only had one person ask me. They asked me how much after it says it in the thing. So it's like, they didn't read that it's not local. And sure enough, I look and they're from nowhere near Massachusetts. So, that's just the way it goes. But yeah, I figured I'd take a chance on that. I've been trying to sell. I sold like those dinosaurs that I got. I don't know if I talked about those. I got these big ass fucking Jurassic Park dinosaurs. So those were just hanging around forever. So I just got rid of those. And then I picked up, what was it? Those blow molds, and I sold all those blow molds. So I had a few people like try to lowball me because I know they sell them too. You know what I mean? So I get it. So, but I didn't sell them for as much as like I thought they would go for, but they also weren't that old. You know what I mean? The older ones, like I've sold like the old, like this old vampire Dracula one. It was a fucking Bela Lugosio, whatever. I'm fucking it up. Some Italian. It's like the original Italian Dracula or something like that. I don't fucking remember. I looked it up at the time and I don't remember now. So look it up if you really give a shit. What else? Yeah. So then Saturday, I'll just go through the yard sales from this weekend, and then I'll kind of, because it's been a few weeks, so this will be the 5th episode, and then again, these should be coming out soon. I finally got the thing I needed to get the podcast from the recorder onto my iPad, and I figured out how to get it on there. I got them onto my iPad, so now I just have to edit it, and I tried it in GarageBand, but I couldn't get wouldn't let me pull the files up, so I don't know if I have to get something else to try to edit the podcast, but that's my goal today while my wife's at fucking Costco. So hopefully she takes a while, and then I can get that done after I get a full uninterrupted hour podcast. Yeah. So anyway, so then Saturday there was like there was a bunch of sales, but there was one sale in my town. It was really poorly advertised, and it was a moving sale. They had a bunch of stuff that I was like, oh, I'm interested in that. They had like these Halloween things, Spooky Town or something like that. So I had looked a few of them up, and they went for decent money. And so I got there early because I'm like, if I don't get out of the house early, I get stuck there. And whenever there's yard sales, I wake up super early, and I'm like just ready to go. And so, oh God, I just think about how early it was. So I get there, and they're out like outside, and they just immediately are like, no. And I should have like taken that as a sign and just left. But I was like, oh, is it okay if I wait? And they're like, it's a public street. And so I'm like, ugh. And they all look the same. It's like one of those families that just, they all look the same. They all have like that one like same feature, and they're all just fucking hella ugly. Yeah, that was these people. And so I should have just left, and I waited. So I'm like waiting, and they're coming in and out, and they're never like, from the pictures it looked like they were already set up. So I'm like, oh, maybe they'll come out and just tell me like, it's okay to come in early. No, they didn't ever. Even once it became 8:00, they like put the sign out, and they put the sign like way up close to the house, so you couldn't even see it. Like they didn't put it anywhere near the road, and they had a lot of traffic, so it was like that's where you would want to put the sign. And so I was gonna tell them that, but then they were just like so just gross, and I just was like, I'm not gonna tell you, fuck you. And so I went in, and I went right at 8:00. I was like, fuck these people. I'm just going to go right at 8. So I go in, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, oh, your ad said video games? And they're like, no, we don't have video games. We have these like PC games. I'm like, well, the ad said video games. So that was the first thing that I was like, all right, your fucking ad said video games. And like, so I don't know, they might have sold it something, or I don't know what happened. But anyway, so I'm like looking at their Halloween stuff, and she's like, her prices were a little bit high. So like we came to a price of like $60 for everything. So I was like, all right, I'll do that. And so I'm walking around, and I'm looking, I'm like, so you don't have any video games? You sure? Like nothing. And they're like, oh, we might have these like old Game Boy games, but we don't know where they are. And the son was like, oh yeah, and those kind of sell for good money online. And he's telling his parents that. So I'm like, and all the prices are super high. Like the Halloween stuff was the only thing that I could like see that like, I could get a deal on. And I really didn't want, it's all the glass stuff, and they had pissed me off so much by like making me wait, but I was completely nice to them, and like I completely backed out of the deal because I was like, I don't even want to give these people my money. So I just told her, I was like, I'm sorry. I was like, I'm probably going to pass on these Halloween things, blah, 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 blah. And so I left, and just, yeah, they had everything was just crazy, crazy price. And so it was a complete waste of my time. I stayed there for like an hour and a half. No, it was like an hour and 10 minutes. It wasn't that long. But I listed the whole time. So I was like, anytime I go to a sale early, I'd list. So that sale was a bust, complete bust. And I kind of cruised around this to my, I do the routes the night before. So I put, not the routes, but like I put all my sales in my, I do like a guide on my iPhone. So you can put them all in like a little guide, and I'll do that the night before. So it just makes it easier going around finding the different sales. And I went to this one sale that was up the street from my house. I went there like later than I normally would for a sale near my house, but I had already asked them if they had video games, and they said no. So I got there, and they ended up having like some cool stuff. They had like a Barbie tote. They wanted $50 on it, but it was from like the 1960s. So I wanted $50 on that. And then like I had gotten like a stack of these old Disney VHSs, and they had a thing of silverware. It said it was silver plate, but they had it for $25. And I started looking, and I found some sterling. So I found enough to justify like paying for it. And she, before I could even say anything, she like thought I was like picking through it. I was just looking to make sure, like seeing how much was in there before I was gonna buy the whole thing. And she was like, "You can take that whole thing for 20 if you want. I'm not gonna like separate it." I was like, "All right, I'll do that." So I got $5 off. So I made like a bundle deal. The lady like kept trying to go way over the price that like I was trying to pay 100 for everything, which I didn't know a ton. Like the Barbie stuff, it was all 1960s. There's like wigs. There's like clothes. There was two figures. One figure, I think it looks like it's like the knockoff, and then like I think they just stuck the Barbie head on. So I think it's just a head, which I'm sure I can probably sell. And then the other one is like Skipper, I think is her name. I don't know. And so yeah, I don't know much about that stuff, so I'm not even sure how to go about looking that stuff up. When you look it up on eBay, there's no like brands or anything like that on them, so I don't know if they're homemade or what. But I'll probably need to do some more research on that. It's crazy when you're reselling and you're like selling shit that you don't really know. And obviously you want to try to sell shit that you know. That's like the the number one thing. But when I tell you like the yard sale season where I'm at has been not great, it's been not great. So I've kind of, but I've been doing fine. You know what I mean? It was really slow. Like I was pretty broke and when I say like broke, I'm just like, just cash poor because I've got cash constantly going out buying stuff. And I wasn't really making a ton of money over the summer. So towards the end of the summer, I was also doing a lot of shit. So like towards the end of the summer, I finally like buckled down and I started listing on Facebook and started, it kind of made me reevaluate my business. And now hopefully going into quarter 4, I'm just like, I'm starting to creep back up. My 90-day total is creeping back up. I've been selling stuff more consistently. I bought those Viewmasters a while back. I don't know if I talked about this, but Viewmaster reels. So this lady had listed like a whole bunch of Viewmaster reels, and she said that most of them were sealed, but she only put like, a fraction of what she had in the picture. And I had seen that she had like a Kiss one, and when I looked online, the Kiss one was selling for like in the hundreds, like $100-something. So I was like, all right, she wanted 100 for everything. She wouldn't come down on the price. I was like, I figured I'd make 100 on the Kiss one, and then the other ones I would make some money. So went and picked it up, and I get it back, and I realized that because in the picture she had like all the ones laid out, and then there was like another little box with more in there. So I didn't even, realize that they could be doubles. So I get back, and there's 4 of the Kiss ones, and I've sold 3 of them. I've sold like 5 Viewmaster things total. So I sold one for 40. I sold another one for 25. So that's 65. And then I sold one of the Kiss ones for 110. The first one was 110. Second one was 115. Third one was 110. So like over $300 just on the 3 Kiss ones. And I still have one more Kiss one. So I've been listing them one at a time. So once one sells, then I list the other one and just sell similar. And they've been selling pretty quickly once I've got it. Because it took me a little bit to get to the price range. So I don't know. They were selling for like a little bit more a couple months ago. But I'll take that all day. $100 and something per reel. So I've got one more, and I'm going to put that one up later today once this one gets paid for. So I don't know, on eBay they've been rolling out the automatic payments or like the instant payments with so when you'll get an offer, it'll say like, oh, this buyer has pre-selected a payment, and you'll get paid automatically. But sometimes it says that and it doesn't. I don't get paid for like a day. It's weird. So I don't know. I mean, I still get paid for it, but that's happened a couple times where it'll say that you'll get automatic paid, and then it doesn't. You don't get paid for like, a day and a half. But whatever. I was happy to sell that quickly, and then I found some silverware on Saturday. I'm fucking all over the place. I know I'm jumping back in. So I found some silverware. Oh, I just fucking said that. I did the whole story about how I did this. I'm fucking retarded. I'm sorry. And then So yeah, that was the only one that I scored. They had an old TV, and I really wanted to go back and ask them about it, and I completely forgot until like the next day. I saw their sign. I was like, I'll stop by and see if they've got it, and they ended up not having the TV. So I missed out. I'm still looking for a TV. I have to test some of these older systems. I had a TV that would do it, but we got rid of it, gave it away on one of those buy nothing groups. So I'm trying to think. Saturday, I think that was pretty much it. There was a few other sales, but again, it's like it just hasn't been like I'm used to like going to sales where you just like get to load up. Oh, I did. Okay, I forgot about this. So I went out and there was another sale, and I got to the sale and they had a ton of stuff that I was like, oh, this stuff's cool. You know what I mean? It was like vintage Polly Pocket. They had these Clerks figures from, or it wasn't from Clerks. It was from Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. It was like the chicks. I forget, but it was their figures. And I should have bought those just for my own personal collection, but her prices were crazy. So she has all this stuff laid out, and she tells me like, "Oh, don't worry about the price. Like, I'll make a deal." Blah 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 blah. I was like, "All right, you make me a good deal if I buy a bunch of stuff." She goes, "Yeah." So I get a bunch of like toys, like fill up a box. I'm putting like all this stuff in a box. They give me a box. So I'm like, "Oh, they're just gonna, you know." And I get up to her, and she tells me like $160 or something like that. And I was like, "Well, where's that price coming from?" And then she like tells me that the lowest she'll go is like 130 for all this stuff, and it's like I would probably make that like that. You know what I mean? It was like it wasn't like I was gonna be making a killing, and so she's like, "Yeah, I can sell it for eBay for that much, so I can't like." It's like, then why are you having a yard sale if you're gonna try to sell at eBay prices? Like nobody's gonna buy your shit at eBay prices, and like, yeah, I get you can put whatever price you want, but like you tell me you're gonna make me a deal and not to worry about the prices, and then you somehow come up with it was a crazy. So like I left. I took the free thing just because I was so mad that they wasted my time. It was like they had one thing that they were like, "Oh, that's free," and I was like, "I'm taking that." It was like a Cookie Monster doll, so I took that. It's like $12, whatever. Pay for my gas to go over there. Fucking waste my time. Um, yeah, and then I went to this. That was at this house. So this was Saturday. I'm jumping all around. This just reminded me of another sale I went to. So the week before we were going to the fair. So there's a fair like probably like 30, 45 minutes from where we live. My daughter's just around that age where she could start going on rides. So we went out to this fair, and I ended up calling yard sales early in the morning because I was like, all right, we'll stop doing. I'll stop doing yard sales early, and then we'll go out to the fair and hopefully hit some sales along the way. It was a fucking complete bust. We hit one sale that I found cassettes at, and one was actually a rare cassette. So if it sells for decent money, it won't be that much of a bust. But I actually sold a bunch of cassettes that I already got for like $50. Cassettes sell really quick for if you know what you're doing. If you lot them by genre, um, and like really lot them by genre. Like if you do classic rock, like you want to do like heavy metal classic rock. You want to do like soft rock, alternative rock, um, and classic rock too is like I mix shit from like the 90s now is considered classic rock, and so I'll mix like that stuff in with old classic rock. So it's just I've been doing cassettes long enough to know, and you got to get them cheap enough because a lot of times you're selling to other resellers. But if you can get them cheap, like I got all these cassettes for $5 and made 50 off one lot, and I still have a couple other singles listed as well as like I think one more other small lot. So they do sell if if you can get them cheap enough. So I always try to bargain for cassettes for sure, for sure. And then before that, there was these people doing like a house clean out, and so we stopped and we were like, "Are you doing a yard sale?" Because they had all the shit out on the lawn, and they just kind of like looked at each other and like, yeah, like it was like they just decided. But when we were walking around looking at stuff, it was just me, my family was in the car, so I'm like looking at stuff. their entire family like surrounded me while I was like shopping, looking at stuff. They just all were hovered around me. It was fucking weird. So they had just started the clean out, so I was asking them if they had, my usual shit. And so they were like, oh, we haven't found that stuff yet, but we just started. So I gave them my card, and she called me, and she's like, oh, I've got some Pokemon cards if you want to come take a look at them. This fucking bitch. So we go back on Sunday, and now they've got a lemonade stand set up. And I fucking hate, and when YouTubers like give the kids like a bunch of extra money, like I could see that if it was homemade, like they fucking made their own, like, but most of these kids have like some fucking sugar packets, some country time, whatever the fuck, and then they just, like, how fucking hard is that? And then it's piss poor advertising. They just set up in front of their parents' shit. You know what I mean? If my kid does it, she's gonna do it right, and she's gonna sell her other shit on the side. You know what I mean? She's gonna have her shit set up, and she's like, "Here's some lemonade. It's gonna be bomb fucking lemonade. It's not gonna suck." And yeah, so these fucking kids who hover, as soon as I get out of the car, do you want some lemonade? Well, I'd like to look at these Pokemon cards first. I'm like, yep, I'll hit you on the way out. And like at this point, I didn't even like get a chance to look at shit. You know what I mean? So I didn't know what they had, and I wish I had known what they had, because I would have just told those kids to fuck off. But once I told them that I was gonna give them money, I was like, yeah. So I just got $1. I got the cup, and I didn't even drink it. I just drove home with it in the cup holder. And as soon as I got out, I fucking dumped that shit out, because I knew it was gonna suck. I smelled it, and I was like, this is gonna suck. So I dumped it out. But yeah, I fucking can't stand getting pressured into buying lemonade, when, like, especially if I don't have change. You know what I mean? Like, if I have change, it's one thing. But again, there's one, I've talked about it before, but there was one that they had really good lemonade, and there was these coffee cakes. Oh, they were so good, so good. But anyway, yeah, they did it again. They hovered. So after I like dealt with their shitty kids, I was walking and looking at stuff, and they didn't have much more out, but yeah, they just like circled around me, and they just were hovering. And then the Pokemon cards they had was like 8 to 10 Pokemon cards, and they were all in horrible condition. I was like, okay, why would you call me for this? And yeah, so I left there pretty annoyed. So back to this weekend. Sorry, that just kind of jumped to a couple weekends ago, because I wasn't. It's been a couple weeks since I've been able to podcast. So then Saturday, that happened. So I got all that stuff, and the lady gave me the crazy fucking prices, put all the stuff back, left with nothing. I had got stuff for like my kid, and I don't know where she came up with those prices, but it was pretty crazy. If she had come down a little bit, like, I might have met her, but like, her price was so crazy, I went crazy. I was like, I'll do 40. Like 40 would be, but like, I probably would have gone up a little bit, and I could have made some money, but I just, yeah, it was crazy. Her price was way too high for a yard sale. Like, and then don't be like, oh, I can sell it on eBay and have it at the same price as eBay. Like yeah, you're not accounting for fees. You're not accounting for shipping. You're not accounting for anything. You're just like, so it is what it is. I probably could have got a couple things a little bit cheaper, but yeah. And then I made a smaller pile, and she was like, still like super. She was like, I'm at 40. I'm like, what the fuck? $40 for this stuff. So that's when I just like put everything back, and I was like, all right, I'm done. I'm fucking leaving your sale, because this is craziness. Yeah, I just had somebody ask me about I have this fucking Buzz Lightyear. I've had it in my store, and I overpaid for it at an auction. Yeah, I overpaid for it at an auction, and it's been sitting forever. It's at like $25, and I don't want to like get it any lower, but I want it gone because it's kind of big, and I'm just over seeing it. So I hope it sells. Otherwise, I'll just put it in the yard sale pile, and somebody else can buy it and deal with it and have it sit forever. But yeah, the other thing I wanted to talk about, I don't know if it just kind of annoys me when people post yard sales. Yard sales. Or like an estate sale, a moving sale, closing sale. Like there needs to be a clear consensus on what something is like what a sale is called, because people just a lot of times they don't know. Like they'll list a sale and it'll be like, estate sale, and you'll go there and it's just like it's a store closing sale. It's like this is a closing sale. Like your store's closing. This isn't an estate sale. I see that all the time where people just like wildly misuse yard sale terms. And I don't know if I'd start a task force. I 100% would start a task force for people who don't take down their yard sale signs. Because it's just, I say it every week, it drives me fucking nuts. And if you've got any more suggestions on what we can do to these people. The other thing I was thinking was like, I think I said shred the stuff and like dump it onto their lawn, but you have to make sure. The other thing you could do, this would be pretty evil and genius, but when they get wet, sometimes those like neon colored signs, when they get wet, they make like this paint color. It comes off like eventually, but you could like stick it to their car. You go to their house, you collect all their signs, and if they've got those highlighter colored ones, you just like stick it to their car, so their car gets all fucking. You just get it wet and just like slap it on there, so they've got their yard sale sign just stuck to their car when they come outside in the morning. But yeah, proper use of the word yard sale, estate sale, closing sale, moving sale. Like, just know what the fuck kind of sale you're having and know how to describe it. If you're not sure, ask somebody. But like, don't list your sale as something it's not. And then if you've got like all one thing, like I like when people tell you what they have, but like when people post and they're like, oh, if we have everything, just come. It's like, I'm probably not going to come to your sale. I'm probably going to try to find another sale. I've been running into this guy who he's like his picker, if that's what you want to call it. And he goes out and like occasionally he'll have like a minivan, and then the other days he'll have a friggin' Porsche. Like I saw him today and he had his Porsche, and he's like, yeah, I won't go to certain yard sales if I have my Porsche, because I can't park there. But like I have a hard time believing that you would drive to a yard sale if it looked promising, like, he'd stop. That's just the way it goes, you know what I mean? If you love to go to yard sales, you're not going to drive to a yard sale and be like, oh, I can't park my car. I mean, I guess if you're driving a nice Porsche around, but I don't know why you take it out yard sailing, but whatever. Maybe he'll let me take a ride in it one day. Thing's freaking baller. But anyway. Yeah, I've got a bunch of shit to do. I just got a bunch of... Oh, fuck. Here, let me make sure that I don't want to... I want to save this because this was like an egregious thing. I don't know if it was egregious, but I don't know. I'll see what... I'm going to put it out there. So then, let me go back to this last weekend. Was it last weekend? Yeah. So then I went to a sale on... No, this was the weekend before. But I wanted to talk about this real quick. I went to a sale. So speaking of this guy that I was just talking about, he told me about a sale. Like, I had driven a little bit of a drive to get to this sale, and it didn't really pan out. I got this cool Pinky in the Brain thing, that, like, if I don't get a certain amount of money, I think I'm just going to keep it once I have a little home office. The fuck was that noise? But so I ran into homeboy, and he was telling me about a sale, and like after I drove away, he's a boomer, so he doesn't, like, he writes all his sales down on like a notepad, and then just like he's got an old GPS. And so, I was explaining to him how I do it with my iPhone, because he's got an iPhone. But yeah, anyway, that's not the point. So he just kind of explains to me where it is. And so I'm like, I think I know where he's talking about. And so I look on my maps and I can't find where he's talking about. So I'm just like, all right, I'll just drive where I think he's talking about. Got all types of turnaround. I couldn't figure out where this sign was for this yard sale. Excuse me. But I ended up finding another yard sale along the way. And when I got there, there was this guy who's, I think he does flea markets, but he's been to my sale before. When he came to my sale, he spent like $150 to $200. Like, he bought a ton of shit from me. And I was selling shit cheap, so that means he bought a ton of shit. And so he had got to the sale first, and they had a bunch of those big Marvel figures. So he was kind of picking through those. And so I went on the other side, and I was looking at this other like little bin of like kids' toys. It was like Paw Patrol. What the fuck else was it? Paw Patrol. Oh, Sesame Street. There was like these Sesame Street figures. So like nothing crazy, but like probably like $30 worth of toys, like on eBay. And the guy was like, "Oh, you can have that," because I had my baby with me. So people always just give me shit when I have the baby. So I was like, okay. So I took that. And then I went over to where that dude was, the reseller dude. And like I was going to reach for this bag of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles stuff. And it wasn't like vintage. It was like probably like 2013, 2014. And it didn't look like it was a ton of stuff. And so I went to go grab for that. And like he grabbed it like right as I was grabbing for it. So I was like, all right, that's cool. So I grabbed, there was like another bag right next to it. So I grabbed that bag. And it was like, if you looked at it right off the bat, it was like, what's it called? Like there's some Marvel Legends figures, and then there was like some accessories like thrown about, like arms, this, that. And so it was like Marvel Legends Build-A-Figure stuff. But like, if you don't know what that shit is, then you're not grabbing for it. So he just like thought that must have been junk. It's definitely worth more than the Ninja Turtle stuff that was there. And so I was like happy that it worked that way, that he grabbed the other bag and not that bag. And so I don't know, I think he was thinking about buying more of the big Marvel toys, but he was like taking his time doing it. So I went over and looked at him. The guy was like, "Oh, they're $1 a piece." So I was like, "Oh, would you do, 20 on all of them?" I think he had 30 of them. And he's like, "Yeah, I'll do that." And so basically I paid like 25 for everything. And I sold one of like the arms from the Marvel Legends figures for like $30. I sold one of the figures for $15. Like I've already sold a few of the things from those bags. So it was a cool little like, find the big Marvel stuff. I don't know how well that stuff sells. I listed one lot of like these 4. It's like all the same Spider-Man figures, but there's 4 different colors. So I listed those the same because they only sell for like $7 or $8. So I'll probably end up lotting up a lot of those things unless there's a rare one. But I just haven't had time to look through each one. So anyway, back to this weekend. I know this is fucking tough to follow. It's tough to talk about. This is my brain. This is how my brain functions. So this past weekend, so Saturday, yeah, I finished up there. And then Sunday, so this chick had posted a sale the week prior that she was having a yard sale. And she had told me that she was going to have some video games the next weekend. So the next weekend she posted the sale, and it was like in the picture you could see some Game Boy Advance games. But when I sent her a message, it sounded like she had more than just that. So I was like, all right. So I got there early, first one. Most of the time I am, because you gotta be. If you're not first, you're fucking last. But I'm always like super polite. I always ask if I can come, and I'm never like, super pushy. I didn't get my teeth cleaned. I just did, and like I need to get braces because the middle of my fucking teeth and the bottom, they're crooked, so I always get shit stuck in there, and it starts to get like almost like bad breath. I fucking pick it off. Anyway, sorry to gross everyone out. So Sunday, so I get there first, and she's got some video games. So she's got like a bag of Nintendo 64 games. They were pretty rough looking, but when I got them home, most of them cleaned up. Like, it was just like they were just dirty, and they all worked. So I got them mostly cleaned up. I got some stuff for my collection. So I got like there's some Game Boy Advance games like Pokemon. I get all this stuff together, and then another dude who I bought video games for, he's another reseller, and he was like, he got whatever was left over. But I don't think he even bought that much because I had to go back. I'll get to that later. So he was there, and he missed out on that stuff, so he was kind of bummed on that. So I made a deal with the lady. She wanted like $280 for everything, but we came to a deal like $240. And so I didn't bring that much money because she didn't show that she had that many video games. You know what I mean? I thought it was enough for like what she had shown in the picture. So I left, and she was like, all right, I'll bag these up for you. And so she like starts bagging them up, and I get back, grab the stuff. I get them to the car, make sure I'm like looking to make sure everything's in there. And I just kind of did a quick peek, and I saw. And so I get home, and I pull everything out, and I realize I'm missing like 3 games, and it's 2 Pokemon games. Game Boy Advance. It was like Pokemon Ruby and Pokemon Fire. I think Fire Red. Which I have both of those, so I could have just instantly sold those and made a bunch of money back. And so they're missing. So I send the chick a message, and I'm like, we're about to go to breakfast because my godmother was in town. And of course, all breakfast, I'm like, I don't usually have my phone on me at breakfast when we go out to eat or whatever. I don't like to just be on my phone. I put that shit down. And so I had to, check because I'm like, this is like stressing me out. And so finally, once we got home, she sent me a message that she still had them. Or she had one. She was like, I have this one. I don't know what happened. So I was like, okay, I'll be back. So I came back, and she gave me that one. And she let me pick a few more games. So that was nice of her. But like, she's like, oh, I don't know what happened. So I'm assuming like, I don't know, either somebody like offered her money on that while I was gone, or which is, I broke the fucking rule. I didn't have enough money on me. So it's just kind of is what it is. But yeah, I don't know if I went back, and I was like nice about it. I wasn't like, because it was on me. I should have checked before I left. I shouldn't have, there was a few things I shouldn't have done. So if she did, get one over on me, whatever. But I don't know. I honestly don't know what happened. She said she didn't know what was happening. So I left her my card, and I actually like, she had told me she had some like, or one of them, there was 2 of them, they were like cousins, and one of them told me, she was like, oh, I've got these old Disney VHSs, and it's like the clamshell ones, and I had to break it to her that these aren't really worth shit, especially not in the condition, because I saw a picture of them, they were not in great condition. So people always think that those things are worth money, but nobody ever considers condition. It's like, dude, your shit's fucked up. They're like, oh, look at this thing, it's fucking, it's collectible, and it's like completely destroyed. It's like, it's not worth shit. You have to take account for damage. Like, you have to sell it for a fraction of what it's worth. Somebody will still buy it, yes, but not for exorbitant amounts of money like they normally would. This has gone by pretty quick. I'm already at like 45 minutes. I don't want to brag on myself. I've been wanting to podcast for a little bit. And I think I'm excited to get it out. I'm hoping that it's way easier to fucking podcast when there's no kids in the house. And yeah. So I don't know. I might ask my wife just every other Friday when she's working or not working. I do need to have her on or have a guest of some sort. I don't want this show to be guests. Like, I primarily just want it to be me because I want all the attention. No, I'm just kidding. What was I going to say? Let me pull up my fucking list of topics. I haven't even gone through. I've gone through a couple of them. Oh, let me see. Oh, this was just like a fun fact that I thought was crazy because I was looking up like games when I was working on some video games that I was selling, and it like popped up and it said something about how the Super Nintendo's entire library is like 1.7 gigabytes. Like, that's the size. And I thought that was pretty crazy. That's fucking nothing. Like, a PlayStation 4 game, and I say PlayStation 4 because I don't have a PlayStation 5 yet. I can't justify it right now. I don't have time to play video games. The only one I've been playing again is Zelda. I barely have time for that, and I shouldn't even be playing with the time that you know what I mean? But I need those 30 minutes to myself, and I usually fall asleep anyway, but it's still, I'm still not, like, I'm still probably about where I was when I last podcasted. The other thing I wanted to talk about, because I've talked mostly about reselling, I know that this is roughly related to reselling, so there's other things that I can talk about. But my wife, she doesn't really adhere to the systems that she puts in place in our house. I've noticed, and I've noticed that it's like kind of similar to like what our government does. You know what I mean? Like, she'll put these systems in place, and then she just doesn't, like, the rules don't apply to her. So, for example, like, she puts night lights all over the house, but then she'll turn the light on like super bright, like when she's leaving. So it's like black, because the light from the bathroom, you can see it into our bedroom, and so it's just like, but the light's already on in there because there's a night light, and that's what they're for. Like, at night when people are sleeping, so you don't have to turn the bright light on. So yeah, I called her out on that. And then, this isn't like I love my wife to death. This is just, I just noticed this, that she does, the rules. And then she put this thing up, and it was like for the keys, and she almost always puts her fucking keys in her purse. So I have to go digging through her purse when I need the keys. And that's really the only two things I can think of right now. Those are the two examples, but yeah, I just thought that was the parallels between our government and my wife, the systems that they put in place. They're just like, they don't apply to me. They apply to you, not me. So anyway, let me go down this list because I'm almost to an hour. Speaking of government, I can't think of our government without thinking of the pharmaceutical companies. I wrote this down because I wanted to remember to talk about it. But there's like these, when you put on the regular TV, which I don't like ever. I try to do stuff without ads, but we have Hulu, and for some reason we like pay for Hulu, and we still have fucking ads. So I don't understand why I guess you have to pay even more, which I'm not gonna do. But every other ad, it's like it's pharmaceutical ads. And like when we watch regular TV, like my in-laws always watch regular TV, and they were watching something and it's just like every other ad is pharmaceutical commercials and then kids with cancer, and it's just like every other commercial. I'm like, how do people just sit here and watch this for 24 hours straight? But anyway, yeah, so like Hulu always has these crazy, and the pharmaceutical commercials are fucking crazy. Like, they're always crazy. The people in them are never like natural acting. They're just always like, it's crazy. It's craziness. But there's one commercial that they have that's the most insane. It's a Lady Gaga pharmaceutical commercial, and she's like fake performing with this like wild, it's not even like it's the whole thing is really bizarre. And I can't even tell you what it's a commercial for, like, I know it's for a pharmaceutical drug, but I can't even tell you what I mean, I could probably tell you the side effects because they're mostly always the same: diarrhea, shitting your brains out, like, those are the same things. But it's a crazy commercial. Once you see it, you'll know what I'm talking about. But like, you can probably look it up. It's just fucking wild. She's fake performing, and it's like she's talking about this pharmaceutical drug, and there's like this giant. Just she's playing like this weird looking piano. It's fucking weird. You just have to look it up because I can't. And unfortunately, I don't do visuals yet. I will eventually, but not yet. So that shit's just like crazy. I remember when pharmaceutical commercials, when they like first came out, was like in the 90s, and because I remember like hearing them. You'd hear them and they'd say all the side effects, and what I would just hear the side effects, like, you know, because I didn't know what any of the other stuff meant, and I would just hear the side effects, and I remember thinking like that, like, that you could have whatever this was. Like, I would hear whatever the thing that they were trying to cure or treat was, and I would like just think that like oh, I have that, you know what I mean? I would think that they were, it was really fucked up when you think about it. As a kid, like, hearing that those commercials is just not knowing what the fuck. So yeah, anywho, that's my whole little pharmaceutical spiel. I thought that was funny. Let me go back through this list. Oh, I got like 9 minutes left. I think I can kill 9 minutes. Let me see. Oh, I sold an oboe. And yeah, listen to this shit. Speaking of getting fucking, people are just trying to get like, they're doing shady shit left and right. So I bought this oboe from, it's like a vintage oboe with like silver pieces. And I bought it from the thrift store, like, I don't know, a few months back. And so I ended up, I was like, you know what, $30, I'll take it. It was in really good shape. I looked it up before I left. That's the only reason. And so I was like, I'll just take it to the music store, see if they can check it out, make sure it works, this, that, and the other. So I bring it to the music store, and the guy's like, oh, it looks like it's all working, blah, 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 blah. But I'm not like the woodwind expert. You can leave it and they can take a look for you, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, like, does that cost any money? He's like, oh, it'll probably be like $20. And I was like, okay, well, let me know, like, if it's anything more. He's like, oh yeah, I will. So then they call me and tell me my shit's ready. He's like, oh, it's going to be $60. And so I get there and I'm like, he told me that you would tell me if it was like, you know, he's like, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it just needed to be repaired. Blah, 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 blah. I needed a piece. So they like fixed it and shit and like serviced it, polished it, all that shit. But still, it's like, dude, I fucking, you know, I'm trying to make money on this shit. So all in, it ended up costing me like $90 to get this shit serviced and cleaned and everything, and fucking. So I ended up selling it for $300, which I still made like, you know, $200, but it's still, you know, it's just, it's like, fucking ask me. If I tell you that I don't want it, you know what I mean? I'm like, tell me if it's more money than what I'm initially thinking. And so that kind of pissed me off. So I ended up, yeah, paid it, but I was just like, I wasn't a dick to them either. I used to just be a fucking dick, but it's just not even worth it because it doesn't get you anywhere most of the time. Sometimes it does. Like, I'm a dick when I have to be a dick, but like, yeah, it just doesn't really serve that much of a purpose, especially like when I have my kids with me. I don't want to be a fucking dick to people when I have my kids. But obviously they, you know, if the beast has to come out, the beast will come out. You know what I mean? I just did a trade with a buddy of mine, Dan, at Flip the Table. He stores board games. I'm just kidding. That's a joke. He sells board games. So we just did a trade a couple weeks ago. So trades are always fun if you got somebody that you can trade with. There's a couple people that I've traded with, and Like you just find stuff that they like, even if it's like in your niche. You know what I mean? Like I sell vintage T-shirts, but I still trade with a vintage clothing guy. So I'll trade him certain vintage T-shirts and stuff that's like doesn't really fit what I'm going for. So that's always fun. I'm just like throwing in random non sequiturs at this point, trying to get to an hour. But I think I can do it. I got the fantasy football draft coming up this weekend. I don't know if anybody's into fantasy football. By the time this comes out, we'll be well into the season, so I'll know if how I'm done. But I've actually been listening to a lot of podcasts about fantasy football. I feel like I didn't do that like leading up to the last few drafts. I don't think I did that at all. I think I just kind of went into. Sorry, I just yawned. I just think I just kind of went into it like, you know, it's hard because like I try to watch preseason, but it's the games are always so late, and I can't care about preseason. And then I have like preconceived notions about people. A lot of the times, if you see them playing against shit players, you're like, oh, they're gonna be fucking baller. And then they play against the studs. You're like, oh, they were playing against some scrubs before. So, yeah. Let me see. I think I had one more thing to talk about. It wasn't. I can probably. I'll probably just skip that. It wasn't. It was just about like all the UFOs and shit. That's like supposedly been popping up, and how like the government's telling people that the UFOs exist, and I've heard people like podcasters and shit talk about how like people don't care. People like they're telling us aliens exist and they don't care. It's like I don't think it's that people don't care. It's people don't fucking trust. People don't trust the government. They're just like some people do. Those people are fucking crazy. But like after like the spending the whole pandemic, I just did air quotes. I actually didn't have my hands behind my head, but pretend I did air quotes. But yeah, they spent the whole fucking pandemic like lying and closing down small businesses. It's like, of course people don't fucking believe them when they're like, yeah, we have aliens. Like, I'll believe it when I see it. I've seen like videos of UFOs and shit, but I'll believe it once I see like an actual alien creature that's like, hey, what's up? I'm fucking Bilbo from the Dildo Galaxy or something. So, anyway, that was just the last little thing I had to talk about. So, that was some fun rapid fire shit that has absolutely nothing to do with anything. So just a bunch of me rambling and cursing and trying to make it to 1 full hour. But yeah, I guess it's close enough, right? So anyway, hopefully I can do these with more consistency. Again, my kids aren't fucking sleeping great. So I'm hoping that I don't know, I'm hoping we can fix that soon. I don't want to sleep on this fucking couch downstairs. I'm so tired. Got a bunch of shit to do today. I got some orders to pack. Yeah, that's about it. I hope everybody does well this weekend. The art sale season's kind of winding down. So, yeah, I don't know. I think I'm going to do another yard sale soon. But I don't know. I might not. I might skip it. We'll see. All right. I'll talk to everybody next week. Peace.